Blaze News, the mandate day 48. I'm Jill Savage. Tonight on the agenda, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy is trying to back out of the rare earth minerals deal with the United States. President Trump explained the situation while speaking with reporters yesterday.
Zelenskyy, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth. And now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
It's the art of the deal. Well, yesterday, freed Israeli hostage Yarden Bibas gave his first interview since being released. He told Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes that he was freed because of Donald Trump.
If you could say something to President Trump, what would you say?
Please stop this war and help bring all the hostages back.
And you think he can help?
I know he can help. I'm here because of Trump. I'm here only because of him.
Well, in the United States, our military is set to review its fitness standards. In a memo, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called for a review of how the standards have changed since 2015. Hegseth shared this video on X explaining the changes that he plans to implement.
It's a new memorandum that's coming out today on combat arms standards. You see, for far too long, we allowed standards to slip, and different standards for men and women and combat arms MOSs and jobs. That's not acceptable. We need to have the same standard, male or female, in our combat roles to ensure our men and women who are under our leaders or in those formations have the best possible leaders and the highest possible standards that are not based at all on your sex, if you're a man or a woman.
Well, immigration is going just as well. The California-Mexico border is nearly empty. Migrant shelters that were once overrun, they're now shutting down due to the Trump administration's immigration policy. And a CBS poll found that most Americans approve of Trump's immigration platform.
This is a story about balance, and the things that are going well in the public mind for him is his handling of immigration, which is still net positive, and his deportation program is still net positive and popular.
At a town hall in Wisconsin yesterday, Elon Musk shed light on the millions of non-citizens who receive Social Security numbers. And Musk and Antonio Gracias, CEO and CIO of Valor Equity Partners, explained how this fraud happened.
Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we mapped the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep.
No.
They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
He is the best form of communication that we have going on the right. Musk was in Wisconsin to campaign for conservative judge Brad Schemmel. And he had to go do that because George Soros donated $1 million to his liberal rival's campaign. And some hecklers managed to get into the town hall, and Musk gave them a warm send-off.
It was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George from me. USA, USA.
It's so good. When we turn our eyes to space, Butch Wilmore, he's one of the astronauts who was stranded in space for 6 months. He gave his first interview since being rescued, and he praised Trump and Elon for earning his trust.
What would you like to say to President Trump and Elon Musk?
I respect you. I trust you. You've given me no reason not to trust you, either one of them. What they say, I can't say what they say. I haven't lived that. But I have no reason not to believe anything they say because they've earned my trust. And for that, I am grateful.
Well, after being up there for over 6 months, I think that they definitely have earned a lot of people's trust. Let's go ahead and bring in Blaze News editor-in-chief Matthew Peterson. So we see the Israeli hostage that was freed and now the rescued astronaut, right? They both come out praising Donald Trump. So what does that tell us about how his administration is just handling these pretty unique events?
It's remarkable because it keeps happening. I mean, good things keep happening as people go in and just do what needs to be done. The astronaut situation is, a classic example of this, where these people were hanging out for a while, but also in Israel, you had this complicated situation that was just, going on and on and on. And you see Trump and his team come in wanting to do what? To solve problems. And when you solve problems for people, they are grateful. They are grateful that you, in this case, saved their lives in different ways. And the more that we see this, the more that you just let people see what's actually happening, the more popular the Trump administration will continue to be.
Elon Musk is just coming out and saying things exactly like they are. It's common sense. It's easy to understand for everybody. And they're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about with the border and what Joe Biden was trying to do? What are you talking about with all the Social Security fraud? And Elon could just break it down in such a simple manner. It's very effective right now.
It is. It's probably not talked about enough. Elon's really popular, but among the commentariat, there's not a lot of people describing the level at which he's operating and the sort of calm solution, as you point out, that he is. And it's really important that we bring that up explicitly like you are here today, because you have to understand that for the last however many years, it was a conspiracy theory, to say the obvious, about what was going on with immigration. And of course, they policed that. Why? Because they didn't want anyone to say why they really supported immigration, which had nothing to do with helping people whatsoever. And when myself and my friends said it, and we started to seed that idea, maybe 8 years ago or so, really started to push this, it was cutting edge and dangerous to say and very naughty and bad. And Elon he grabs onto the truth and he just runs with it. And that's what he's been doing. And what I would say is what I said about him from the beginning. He is saying things that the Republican Party has been afraid to say for years, and he's saying them very cleanly and clearly, and he's doing it every day. And I'm glad he's doing this, probably losing money on his businesses, right? But I'm glad he's doing this because he's putting on a clinic for the rest of the right.
And people are gravitating towards what he is saying because it is so clear and concise. And another person that's doing that right now is Pete Hegseth, because we have seen all of the military standards decline year after year. So at some point, if we want to have military preparedness and readiness, you do actually have to turn around that ship and make sure that the standards are where they should be, so that if the time ever comes, we're actually ready.
This is one of the most basic things that, again, you just couldn't talk about before. And now Hegseth, I love the common sense aspect of this. Are we in shape, ladies and gentlemen? And how do we get in shape? Maybe we should go outside and get in shape. And maybe if we're in the military, we should especially do that. And that's sort of the mood of the moment. And Hegseth is just saying, what have we been doing? What have we been doing when it comes to being ready? Let's look at that, and let's just look at reality and move forward from there.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about immigration. We have our immigration expert, Julio Rosas. He'll give us an exclusive account of how Florida Sheriff's Department is enforcing immigration law. Just ahead.
The Brevard County Sheriff's Office is responsible for keeping Florida's Space Coast safe, and one of the ways they are achieving that mission is enthusiastically working with federal law enforcement agencies to arrest illegal immigrants within their jurisdiction. Blaze Media was embedded with the Sheriff's Office as they worked with the United States Border Patrol to take illegal immigrants off the road and eventually out of the country.
That was Blaze Media's national correspondent, Julio Rosas, who has been embedded with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office during their Border Patrol operation. So Julio joins us now to discuss all of this. So what did you see with your time when you were out there with the Sheriff's Department?
This operation is actually under Operation Stone Garden. It's been in place for a couple of years. And the reason why that this was important was because this is just part of the ongoing efforts from the state and local level to help the Trump administration, which of course Governor DeSantis has made it clear that he thinks that in order for the Trump administration to really fulfill its campaign promises of mass deportations, states have to utilize every resource that they can put towards actually helping federal law enforcement, because the federal agencies, as vast as they are, they do have limitations. They do have capacity and funding limitations like any other agency. And so this was one of the operations that Brevard County has done recently in conjunction with Border Patrol to help them reach that goal.
Just for the audience, can you explain, Julio, what Operation Stone Garden is when you reference that?
Yeah, so that's from the federal government, and it allows the state, local law enforcement to do these kind of joint task force missions. And it basically how it works is, and how it worked in Brevard County, was the sheriff's deputies would be the ones to make a traffic stop, and it could be for any sort of violation with expired tags. In many of the cases, what actually ended up screwing these guys over that got arrested was not having a license plate properly affixed to a trailer that was bringing along a something for landscaping, right? And so in the course of their interaction with these deputies, do you have a driver's license? No. Do you speak any English? No. In a couple cases, one guy handed over, he only had his Mexican voter ID card because Mexico does have voter ID nationwide over there. And then in another stop, one of the landscaping workers, he provided his immigration warrant for deportation. So that actually made things a lot easier to determine, okay, this guy should not be in the country currently. And so that's when Border Patrol then comes, verifies their status, and they have a number of ways to do that. And then once it is determined, yes, they're not here legally for a number of reasons, or they might have a criminal history already that the federal government is aware of, they then get taken into custody, put in a van, and then at the end of the day, they brought that van over to Orlando, to the processing site over there, so that they can kind of complete that process over to get them out of the country.
So I feel like we all have comments on the border crisis and immigration and everything that's going on, right? So I feel like some of the sheriffs might have something to say about this as well. When you look at the difference between the Biden administration and the Trump administration, I know this is at the state level, so it is a little different, but have they said anything about how they've seen a lot of these changes since Trump has taken office?
Absolutely. So the deputy that I was writing with, he told me that they would run into illegal immigrants committing traffic violations all the time. But of course, since it's not under Operation Stone Garden, this is just in their normal course of their duties, they can only refer them to an agency like ICE or Border Patrol if there's agents available to come in. Obviously, they're not going to be able to be there every single time they're doing just a regular traffic stop, which is why Operation Stone Garden, for example, is utilized so that they work together at the same time. He told me that ever since Trump got into office, and ever since the new immigration bill that DeSantis pushed through the state house recently and that signed into law, he said that his words were they have completely scattered. Obviously, they're still around, but they're not encountering them every single time in the numbers that they were prior to, like for example, during the Biden years. And I want to emphasize that Operation Stone Garden is a little bit different than the 287G program, which has been mandated for all Florida law enforcement agencies to now be part of. That's part of that new state immigration bill. And so I was told that the Brevard County Sheriff's Office will be fully integrated, will be fully credentialed through that program soon. So eventually they will be doing these types of operations completely on their own, because the 287G program allows local law enforcement agencies to have those federal immigration arresting powers, for example.
Now, when you look at Florida and what DeSantis is doing, which is as usual, right, pointing the way forward and groundbreaking and good stuff, when it comes particularly to the local sheriffs, sort of playing along, is that going well overall in Florida? I mean, do you have a lot of local law enforcement stepping up? Is that an example for the rest of the country? And I imagine that even in Florida, there's probably some of them that don't want to deal with this. So is this working or not?
Yes, I mean it's still in its early stages because even like a county, the sheriff is all for like that 287G program. That takes time, right? You're dealing with the federal government. It's going to take a little bit of time to be part of that. But yeah, I mean obviously there are the more blue counties, such as Brevard, Orange. But that's why DeSantis was very clear that with this new law, it's not a matter of you can't just be. You just cannot be a sanctuary city or, obviously that doesn't exist here in the state. But you have to do more than just simply allowing ICE agents access to the county jail, because that's often the fallback for any other, blue city or sanctuary city. If they do, if they do allow them, they just say, well, we're not going to interfere. So if you do want to come pick people up, you can do that. We're not going to get in your way. Now, of course, there are places that straight up say, no, you cannot come into our county jail to pick up people safely. And that's obviously a whole other issue. But so overall with here in Florida, yes, this has been met with, this had a good reception so far. Now, of course, it remains to be seen with kind of those more blue leaning districts, just how much effort they're going to put towards that 287G program, right? Places like Brevard County, that's obviously not going to be an issue. Even a place like Miami-Dade, that's a Republican stronghold now. They have a new sheriff that was endorsed by President Trump. She ran on, helping the governor and helping the Trump administration with this. So even if there might be some lackluster performance in some of the other counties, they're few and far in between, and the vast majority of the county sheriffs in the state, I can say, are pretty enthusiastic to not only work with Border Patrol and ICE, but actually go out with, using their own resources. Obviously not the entire department, but, using some resources to be proactive to apprehend illegal immigrants or, illegal immigrants with actual criminal histories.
So we all know that Florida leads the way. We've heard it over and over and over again. Peterson just mentioned it, but what can we do to get other red states to follow along, Julio? You can't be the only one having fun down there in Florida.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, this does seem like this is a layup, right? I mean, this is an issue that Trump ran on. He won on. It is broadly popular. It does have an over 50% approval rating. I saw a CBS poll from yesterday saying that it had like a 58% approval rating of deporting not just illegal immigrants with criminal histories, but the question just said illegal immigrants, which is kind of how they kind of use those word games. But it's all a matter of just highlighting the success that Florida is having down here. And really, it's up to people that live in more other red states like Texas, Tennessee, saying, hey, this is what they're doing. This is how they're doing it. This is the success that they're having. Why can't we have that kind of same cooperation and really initiative that they have? And obviously it takes time to be brought up to this new program, and like I said, it takes a little bit to actually get certified so that you can do it, and there is that learning curve. And again, we're 3 months, barely 3 months into the Trump administration. So I think once people see just how useful it is, and once kind of that feedback comes in with this new program that really enables local law enforcement to not have to always rely on the federal government, I think more people are definitely going to be, willing to raise their voice to say, hey, we should have that here too.
Yeah, Texas, it's a big red state, but we're still trying to get things figured out down there in Austin. We're trying to get rid of Sharia law here in the state. We got a lot going on, Julio. So eventually, I would like then to also just go through and push through all of these immigration laws as well. But you know what? We can't all be Florida. So enjoy it. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks.
Don't go anywhere. Our next guest will explain how Trump is rooting out woke ideology from American history. Next. Elon Musk and 7 members of DOGE sat down with Brett Baier to look into the operations of the agency, including its efforts to slash DEI and federal credit card spending. As of March 27th, the agency has reportedly saved Americans $130 billion. So here to break it all down for us is Roger Kimball. He's the editor of New Criterion. So Roger, when we look at this was a great interview and we really got a lot of information on DOGE. So what was your takeaway from this briefing?
Well, my primary takeaway was one of unrelieved gratitude. Here are, a half a dozen, 10 people who have many other things to do in life. They are very accomplished men who have devoted themselves selflessly to, actually, it's not too strong to say, to saving the country. I think Elon Musk is absolutely right that we are teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. We have a $37 trillion federal debt. We add $2 trillion a year to that debt, and it is unsustainable. The economist Ben Stein, I think it was, said that what can't go on forever won't. And this cannot go on forever. We are so lucky to have encountered Elon Musk at just this moment when Donald Trump is devoting himself to making America great again. And Elon Musk is providing some very important, what would you call it? I guess technical expertise about how to do that. He is doing exactly what Donald Trump said he would do in his inaugural address. He is applying common sense to a situation in which insanity has reigned for decades. I think I was just incredibly impressed. I was impressed by Bret Baier, too. I have to say, he did a terrific job of eliciting what each of those individuals was contributing, and he did a terrific job of this is maybe the hardest thing for an interviewer to do, of allowing them to speak for themselves and lay out exactly what they were doing. We are at a hinge in our history now. This is an existential moment where we have an opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to take the country back. It involves many different strands of concern, but one major one is financial. There are other things like the DEI, what we used to call political correctness, which has been allowed to triumph and reduce all actions in our government to be subordinated to a politicized agenda that puts forward racial and sexual themes that have no place in our government. And so I don't tend to be optimistic. I think of optimism as the fault of Pangloss and Voltaire's Candide. But I have to say I am very chuffed by what is going on, both from the White House, but throughout the government, really. Trump's entire cabinet and this sub-cabinet position of DOGE, the Department for Government Efficiency, has really earned the gratitude of the American people. And I thought it was just a terrific interview. And I urge your viewers, if they haven't seen it, to take the 20 or 30 minutes that it would take to watch that, because Elon Musk has taken an unbelievable amount of abuse, and to watch that interview is to understand what he is really trying to do for the country. So I think we should begin with a note of profound gratitude for what these gentlemen are doing.
Yes, and it really is. The gratitude comes about, as you said, because, Roger, as we know, these people don't have to do this. And
absolutely.
And that's where I agree with you. I love the fact we just brought up Candide and Voltaire. But it is true that I am not an optimist either, and I know you're not an optimist. Working with you for years, you're much more of looking at the whole cold heart of reality, but not without a sense of grace. And here we are, looking at this, and I feel the same way every day I get up. I'm thinking, it's now. It's happening now. Like, this is the battle. But
yes.
but let's look at this, because it's not over. And as you point out, DEI is still reigning supreme in charge of everything. So President Trump just dropped this new executive order, right, calling out the Smithsonian for pushing what he says is divisive race-based ideology. He's pulling the plug on federal funding for those kinds of exhibits. This is something that we all care very deeply about. You spoke with Steve Bannon recently about some of this stuff. I saw that interview. It's very good, very interesting. We'll talk about some details with it, but just big picture, right? His executive order also seeks to restore the monuments, right, when they took down some of these Confederate leaders. So just before we think about the details, in general, we have seen what you have fought against and pointed out for a long time, right? Basically, the left's domination of culture using the federal government. I think this is a really important issue for people to think about in the audience. And I want to challenge even some of our audience who really, for good reason, just wants to shut it all down, right? I mean, I get it. Like NEA, Piss Christ, the old stuff, just shut it down, right? But there's a case here to be made to take the National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, Librarian of Congress, a handful of other things, and really do something good with them, and actually increase the cultural cachet of what's truly good, true, and beautiful. What are your thoughts about this, just big picture?
Well, I am definitely against the attack on history that is represented by what we might call the monument controversy, where you, whether you're talking about a university or a town square where a statue of Robert E. Lee will be removed because it reminds, it's meant to remind us of our racist past. In New Haven at Yale University, I used to be a fellow of a college named for John Calhoun, Calhoun College. Well, they renamed that college not so long ago because John Calhoun, although he was a member of the House, a senator, Secretary of War, and Vice President of the United States, although he was valedictorian of Yale, widely regarded as one of the greatest orators of his time, up there with Webster and so on, he had ideas that we do not approve of today. So he has to be erased from history. I think that is a terrible injustice. Why? For a lot of reasons, but perhaps the primary reason is this. If we can no longer affirm who we have been, we also can no longer affirm who we are now and what we aspire to in the future. We have to be able to say yes to who we are and who we have been. That's not to say that we necessarily have to approve of everything we have done in the past as a country, but it is to say that our history is part of who we are. So I am adamantly opposed to this attack on the past for the passing fancies of our own points of view today. The attitude seems to be that we today occupy a kind of pinnacle of enlightenment and moral sensibility, and everyone in the past doesn't quite measure up to that. But that is such a naive and superficial view of reality that it would hardly be worth talking about, except it is being promulgated by some of the most elite and privileged institutions in our society, like Yale University. And it's not just those people who owned slaves or approved of slavery, as many of the founding members of Yale College did. It's also any number of issues that one might seize upon that don't quite pass muster with our politically correct viewpoints today. So, for example, they chiseled off from Sterling Library at Yale a little bas relief that showed an Indian and a pilgrim with a musket. Why did they chisel it off? Well, because this fellow had a musket, and we're against guns and we're against violence. So this work of art had to be chiseled off of the library. I don't know whether they saved it or just destroyed it. It's a little unclear. But that attitude of intolerance and censorship is a powerful toxin, and it's something that I think we have to resist at all costs. And it's not going away. It seems to be rampant in Europe now. I'm glad that it's to bring in Elon Musk again. I'm glad that he acquired Twitter and did so much to restore free speech and battle against government censorship at that important institution. Now, you ask about institutions like the national endowments. Personally, I would be in favor of zeroing them out. Why? Because they have become playpens for the left. And I've been quite close to both of those institutions over the years and have seen many attempts to restore them, or not even restore them, but to turn them into a beneficent cultural force. They've always failed. Why? Largely because they are staffed by people who do not want to do the right thing, but rather want to use these institutions as political weapons. So I understand your impulse, Matt, to say, well, rather than end them, let's mend them. But my experience is that it can't be done. And moreover, I think that it's very important. It's very important right now. We have this opportunity for the next several months, maybe 2 years, probably not longer than that, to take back America. And one of the first things we need to do, and I think it's an impulse that Donald Trump shares, is we need to have some casualties. So I was very pleased when he basically destroyed USAID. That's a good thing, because that is that along with the National Endowment for Democracy, they were Cold War relics that had outlived their usefulness and had really become, again, left-wing playpens that were part of this government censorship complex. So the NED, for example, the National Endowment for Democracy, they gave a $230,000 grant, I think it was, to the Global Disinformation Initiative. What was that about? Well, that was about identifying entities that, according to the people who ran that, were engaged in wrong think, as George Orwell put it. Wrong think. They had the wrong ideas about COVID, the wrong ideas about, populism, the wrong ideas about Donald Trump. And there's a lot of, actually, it might have been the Blaze too. The Blaze may have suffered from a drain of advertising, because they compiled a list on which the Federalist was placed, Real Clear Politics, many entities that were vaguely right of center, and they had the wrong attitude about these issues, and they have been severely penalized. And so we have to fight back against this tooth and claw, and we need some scalps.
Well, Roger, we only have about 2 minutes left, but I do want to get into Signalgate with you because everything is a gate now, right? It's Watergate, it's Russiagate, it's Signalgate. You recently wrote about this for the Spectator World. So is there anything to this story? What should we take away?
Well, as I said in that piece, I mean, the very idea that it was denominated Signalgate shows that it's an effort by the left to poach upon the authority of Watergate. And maybe finally at last we found something that can bring down the president who we hate. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that, as Ted Cruz said in another context, I think it's a nothing burger. There's nothing there. It was not a huge catastrophic security breach as we've been assured. These people spoke or texted each other using this encrypted app, and the attack against the Houthis went forward. It did what it was supposed to do. Now, it is true that the Presidential Records Act says that such a meeting must be recorded. And whether that was done or not, I don't know. I suspect that the people in the government at that high level will be finding other ways to communicate in the future. But I think it was not. It was a glitch. They shouldn't have done it, and they certainly should not have invited Jeffrey Goldberg to participate. But it's not a big deal.
Yeah, Roger, it's almost like when the leftist media gets a chance to take a stab at President Trump, they're going to take it. And we're all just going to follow along. Thanks so much for your time, Roger.
My pleasure.
We'll talk to you again soon. Well, you guys remember when Saturday Night Live was actually funny? It's been so long since it's been funny. But we'll have your suggestions to make it great again right after this. Morgan Wallen was the musical guest for Saturday Night Live this past weekend, but apparently he did not enjoy his time in the Big Apple. Immediately after host Mikey Madison thanked him for coming on the show, Wallen posted this photo of his plane with his Instagram story, writing, "Get me to God's country." Now, I don't blame Morgan, right? Tennessee is a great place to go. But on X, I asked you, what would you add, who would you add to make SNL watchable again? So here are some of the best responses. So we have Fred to start things off. He said, Mr. Bill's return could unleash some savage nostalgia on SNL. I tossed Bill Hader for his wild absurdity, or Tim Robinson for his savage, off-the-rails energy. And using the word savage in there twice is definitely going to get you on the show, Fred.
Yeah, I can see you're biased. You're biased
to the savages.
Mm-hmm. To the savages.
Yeah, it's not the ninja swords problem. It's the ninjas. It's the savages. Yeah, okay. So I'm with that.
I mean, good suggestion, right? Pump up the energy. Sure.
Bert Kaiser or Theo Vaughn is next. This is Hoosier, by the way. He said, but let them be them, not conform. And that is a very important thing, that every time, you can come on here. You just can't be yourself. Whatever you do, don't do the thing that America loves you for. We need to stop that, and we need to put you into this mold that we think is going to work a little bit better.
Yeah, and sadly, that's the real trick, isn't it? They're not going to let you be yourself, and so they're probably not going to let those people on. But imagine it opens up the mind to what could be possible if you had people who are just truly free to do comedy on that show. There's amazing people throughout that don't conform, and Theo, this would be amazing. Yeah, let's do it.
Jim is going to round it out for us today here with the submissions for how do we actually make SNL better. So he says Dave Landau would be amazing, funniest guy alive. He'd offend all the right people. I will say, walking through this building, Dave Landau is definitely one of my favorite people to see. I'm not even saying that because we're talking about him, but he just is. Every time you see him, he's just happy. He's funny. He is genuinely hilarious. I follow him on Instagram. Everybody should do so. But he has a ton of good qualities because he's not only like good with the written jokes, he's also very good with the improv, and he'll just throw things out there, and he has the best of all the comedic worlds.
I mean, I know Greg Gutfeld is hugely successful, but to me, like Landau could be something along those lines, but better, and already is in many ways. No offense to Greg Gutfeld. Actually, plenty of offense, whatever. If he takes it, it's fine. Dave Landau is really, really good, and that would be amazing. These are the kinds of people that should be on Saturday Night Live, and there should be no... imagine if you just lived in a free world. That's what this segment makes me realize. I mean, of course, they should just have people who are actually funny, represent the entire spectrum on there, and it would be great. It would be hilarious, and they'd be more successful. But I don't think that Saturday Night Live actually exists in order to do comedy.
One of the funnier things that we've done on the show in the last week or so was Jason Stanley. He was the Yale professor. You might remember, he's very important.
Yes.
Very important man. Doesn't want to be in the country anymore. Donald Trump is terrible. So he's taking his family to Canada. Well, guess what, you guys? We have a follow-up for you. So let's go ahead and watch his latest here.
I will continue to throw punches against fascism and bullies from Canada. Don't worry. I have 2 Black and Jewish kids. I think my kids actually are more important to me than anything else. So they're using my religion to go after academic freedom, crushing universities supposedly in the name of protecting my people, American Jews. My kids are Jewish. My kids are Black. They're attacking their history. And I want to send a political message, as I've been doing with my work. This comes at great personal cost. This is not I'm taking a huge salary cut. I'm not a super wealthy person. I'll still be well paid, but I'm taking like a 25% salary cut.
I'm telling you, that's better than SNL right now. Just watching that clip on repeat. If you go back and you watch Peterson from a few days ago and his initial takedown of Jason Stanley, and then you go watch that clip. I don't know, Peterson, are his kids Black and Jewish? Can we confirm this? I mean, he's only telling us this. Like, he had how many minutes there? And yet manages to say this over and over and over again. And by the way, he's also taking a pay cut, so you should probably feel a little bit bad for him.
I don't know. I don't know where to start. I mean, so first off, yes, are his kids Black and Jewish? Well, I heard you the first time, man, 4 times, 5 times. He's throwing that out there like a mantra. And that's interesting. You know, Jason, if never change, because if your kids are Jewish, probably you left for Canada to get away from Yale, right? Because the Trump administration has sent them a letter warning them of allowing anti-Semitism on campus. So clearly you must be for the great fascist Trump, whose own administration is protecting Jews on Yale's campus. So maybe that's why you left. No, that would make too much sense. But then you go through the other aspects of this, and it's just one of these never change, buddy, never change. This is why we don't want you to leave. The thing about you're getting a pay cut by leaving, like, why would you say that? You know, it's like saying my SAT score is lower than all the students I ever taught. That's not funny or anything. Please don't laugh, Matt Peterson in the audience, who's trying not to cry. I'm laughing so hard. And then here he's saying, yeah, massive L. You know, I have to go take a huge pay cut and move to Canada. And then the interesting thing about it was at the very end, he said, he can still. Well, in the beginning, he says he can still throw punches. Right. But then he's leaving Canada because people are leaving the United States because like the bullies and the punches. I mean, I don't know where to start with this, but it does make me realize I don't want Jason Stanley to change. I want him to keep on sending us messages from Canada. But also I want him to go there with everyone else who agrees with him.
I feel like we're going to make Jason Stanley really popular on this show. And I'm for that because I think that more people need to see the absurdity of the left. And you know what? Good on Jason Stanley for actually following through and leaving the country, because a lot of people say it. Very few actually do.
It's true. I mean, but just think about the Black and Jewish kids comment again. I keep going back to that because he went back to it 3 times. It's like the new
So it's fair for you to go back to it several times because he did, and we're only following his lead.
Let's talk about again. Who's in danger? I mean, is it that you want to put them in more danger by moving to Canada? Because there's a lot of people who hate Jews there. I mean, the idea that at Yale University, your children were threatened by anyone on the right because of what's going on is so insane and crazy. you really don't know even where to start when you really are threatened by anti-Semitic, or people against Israel anyway, in these protests on Yale's campus. It's a really bizarre thing, but he's throwing it out there because he needs to say something, it's like that's the cover for whatever he's doing. Like, I am not just a white man. I have black and Jewish kids, right? I mean, that's kind of what he's saying as a cover. And then he's saying he's going to throw punches from across the border. Like, I'm still going to fight, even though I'm running away to Canada, where I'm taking a massive pay cut. I don't know. I don't know. Even talking about it off the cuff is hard. I'm trying really hard not to say anything really bad right now. But I don't want Jason Stanley to change. We want updates from him.
No, he's a very important person, and we need to treat him as such. I feel like there needs to be like a little martini with like a pinky up right now. Like anytime that you talk about him, like that's the tone, that's the vibe that he is setting. And I think that he would appreciate that.
I mean, it sucks about the pay cut, dude.
I look at this though, and I want to go back to just the overall SNL of everything, because comedy should be funny. We should be able to poke fun at, especially guys like Jason Stanley, like we're doing right now. But it's lost so much of its edge because you can't just say the things anymore. You get in trouble. Like all the comedians, whenever they go around to the college campuses like Yale, they get in trouble. These student protest groups come out and they say, you can't say that stuff anymore. And that's why I feel like even the clips that we get of guys like Jason are better, because it is just the real authentic thing that's not even being allowed in even a comedic world at this point in time.
Yeah, you have to take what you're given. And what you can do is, from where we sit, laugh at, oh, guys, wait, you hear that? Jason Stanley is trying to punch us from over in Canada. Yeah, you have to deal with the real satire that you see and just you encounter. And it's too bad, but you see signs of comedy coming back, right? We see signs of that. But SNL is controlled opposition. They're never going to fully open up. I mean, that show would have been canceled a long time ago if it just had to do with ratings. It's been propped up for a while. But I do think that someone could create an SNL that's not SNL. That would be awesome with all these people. And, they would probably go after harder targets than Jason Stanley. But we should. I mean, Dave Landau and others could join up with people and create an SNL that's worthy of the name, I think.
Yeah, and until that happens, you can watch Dave Landau on Normal World here on BlazeTV. He is excellent. Again, one of my favorite people in the entire building. So it's been fun just looking around at the comedic relief for everything. But go ahead and subscribe to Blaze News The Mandate on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll be back to see you here tomorrow night. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Transvisibility Day. Bedford, I see you.